Dear shareholders, good morning and a warm welcome to you all to the 44th Annual General Meeting of Gland Pharma Limited, being held through video conferencing and webcast. The facility for attending the AGM through video conferencing is being provided to a minimum of 1,000 shareholders on first come first served basis. For the smooth and seamless conduct of the meeting, the bridge of audio and video of members for interaction with the directors will be closed until they are allowed to speak at the AGM as per the pre-registration. Please note that, per the requirements of the law, the proceeding of the annual general meeting will be recorded and the transcript will be uploaded on the website of the company. I now invite our chairman, Mr. Stanley Y. Lau, to initiate the proceedings. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Gland Pharma Limited, I cordially invite each of you present here at the 44th Annual General Meeting of the company. This meeting is being held through video conferencing and other audio-visual mode as we continue to follow health and safety restrictions with regard to holding physical meetings. We comply with the regulatory requirements of Securities and Exchange Board of India. The company has taken all possible steps to ensure that the shareholders are provided with an opportunity to participate at the annual general meeting and also to vote. We are also very pleased to have your virtual presence here together with us today. As the requisite quorum is present, I now declare this meeting opened. I would like to start the meeting with a brief introduction of our board members and other key invitees who are participating through video conferencing. I will request you to raise your hand as I call out your names. Ms. Saranas Sadhu, MD and CEO, is joining us from the Gland Pharma Corporate Office. From the Fosun Pharma, Shanghai, we have Mr. Chen Qiyu, Mr. Yao Fang, and Dr. Zhang, the non-independent and non-executive directors. Our independent directors are Nanalak Kidway from Delhi and Mr. CSN Murthy from Hyderabad are attending the meeting. We also have with us Mr. Vari Mitra, CFO, Mr. Sampath Kumar, Company Secretary, and the representatives of the statutory auditors and the secretarial auditors as part of this virtual meeting. Mr. Udo Vetta and Mr. Isaji Guranavati, independent directors, could not attend the meeting. Mr. Yifang Hu and Mr. Xiao Hui Guan retired by rotation as directors at the commencement of this meeting. They did not offer themselves for reappointment, and hence they are also not participating in this meeting. I request all attendees to extend their full support and cooperation for systematic conduct of the proceedings of this virtual meeting today. As with that, ladies and gentlemen, I pass you over to Mr. Kumar, our company secretary.
Dear Chairman, good morning, dear members. This meeting is being conducted through video conference and webcast as per the provisions of the Companies Act and the SEBI regulations. The annual report containing the director's report, auditor's report, financial statements and other reports along with the notice of this meeting have already been circulated to the members at the registered email ID. I hope you all have received a copy of the same. With your permission, I take the annual report as read. Since there are no qualifications, observations, comments or remarks in the statutory auditor's report and the secretarial auditor's report for the financial year ending 31st March 2022, I take liberty to not to read the report in the interest of time. In order to enable the shareholders to vote on the resolutions, we have provided e-voting facility through Link in Time platform. At 9 a.m. Indian Standard Time on Saturday, August 27, 2022 and ended on August 29, 2022 at 5 p.m. Voting rights were reckoned on the shares held as on the cutoff date, that is August 23, 2022. Since the shareholders are provided with e-voting facility, there will be no voting by show of hands at the meeting as per the statutory provisions. In case you have not exercised your voting through remote e-voting facility, I request you to do so now while attending the AGM proceedings. Voting will remain open up to 30 minutes from the time the Q&A session ends. The statutory documents, registers and reports which are required to be placed at the AGM for inspection are open for inspection electronically. Any of the members wish to inspect these documents, they can write to us at investors@glandpharma.com. My colleagues will facilitate the inspection electronically. May I now invite our chairman, Mr. Stanley Wailau, to address the shareholders and deliver his speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would once again like to welcome you to the 44th Annual General Meeting of your company. Let me take you through the changes in the board since our last AGM. Mr. Li Dongming resigned as director with effect from 10th of March 2022. Consequent to his decision to pursue better opportunities outside Fosun Pharma, he confirmed that there were no other material reasons for his resignation. Mr. Yao Fang has appointed as an additional director by the Board of Directors on the 10th of March 2022, and later as appointed as a director by the shareholders through postal ballot on 20th April 2022. Mr. Wu Yifang and Guan Xiaohui retired by rotation at this annual general meeting, and they did not offer themselves for reappointment. On behalf of all of us, I would like to place on record our deep appreciation for the contribution made by Li Dongming, Wu Yifang, and Ms. Guan Xiaohui to your company. I would like to express my deepest appreciation that as a company, Gland Pharma continue to pave its way for a better and sustainable future despite the challenging environment from geopolitical uncertainty to the pandemic. Despite the second wave in last year and persistent scare from emerging new virus variants, I'm proud of your company keep the operation running to provide access to affordable medicine with utmost quality standards. The annual report, which was already circulated to you, explains how, as a company, we adapted to the changing environment demand to meet the patients' needs globally. Your company successfully deliver on different businesses, the KPIs, along with a very strong financial growth. There has been a visible improvement in the business environment in 2022. But the global economy recovery is set to face challenges amidst emergence of COVID variants, diminishing physical support, and continued supply chain bottlenecks. Inflation continued to rise throughout the second half of CY21. Fossil fuel prices skyrocketed, and supply chain disruption emerged with clogged ports and container shortages. These factors led to broadening price pressures, prompting central banks to consider policy rate change. We are a pure-play injectable company, and the growth of injectables market has been among the fastest, along all drug delivery forms. The global injectable market was estimated to be $550 billion, growing at a CAGR of approximately 9.7% over the last 5 years in 2022. Currently, injectables are the second largest form of drug delivery systems and account for over 42% of the global market share. North America, the biggest market, has been capturing more market share as usage increased in the region, while Japan, Russia, Korea, Australia and Saudi Arabia are some of the other key markets contributing to more than two-thirds of overall rest of the world injectable market. Indian manufacturers account for nearly one-third of the market by volume in the USA, with other share growing driven by quality manufacturing capacity and competitive pricing. India's cost of production due to lower competitive land rates, skilled labor, and low utility costs is 30 to 40% lower than that of the United States. India has the highest number of US FDA-approved manufacturing facilities outside the United States. We ensure commitment to higher standards of quality in all products and remain prepared for quality audits throughout the year. As a policy, there's never any compromise on quality. ESG strategies and goals have been set and reviewed by the company to manage ESG impact and to integrate sustainability into relevant business operations. Your company has integrated energy saving as key consideration into the EHS audit system. We also actively manage climate-related risk and opportunity in business operations. Looking ahead, the board will continue to optimize the ESG management of the company, actively respond to concern of our stakeholders, formulate correspondent action plans, regularly review the progress of the relevant objective, and facilitate the improvement of ESG management. Your company has continued to perform to shareholders' expectation, weathering the challenging macroeconomic and geopolitical factors. The management teams has lived up to the demanding nature of the business to implement strategic plans amidst the challenging environment. Your board will continue to review the progress and provide strategic support and guidance to the team. I request Mr. Sadul, Managing Director and CEO, to give you a brief overview of the business. Mr. Sadul.
Thank you, Stanley. Good morning to all the shareholders and all the attendees. I would once again like to welcome you to the 44th Annual General Meeting of your company. This is our second AGM after being listed on the stock exchanges, and we are having it virtually on account of the safety protocols. Nevertheless, I'm very glad to meet all of you today. I'll be talking about our key strategic priorities for the future and our business performance for the past year. The COVID-19 pandemic has been disruptive in more ways than one, affecting lives globally. At Gland, we brought together our collective resources and strengths to respond to the challenging situation and run the business with the resilience that our clients, our employees, and our shareholders expect from us. This approach, where the collective strength of Gland was leveraged not only to rally our teams to collaborate and drive synergies, but also demonstrated it as a core differentiation when it comes to helping our partners by supplying products in a timely manner during these trying times. It amplified our significance in their growth plans and gave them more reason to trust us to deliver at a time when the business sought support to tide through these challenging times. In terms of impact to our business, initially we saw an immediate shift in product mix that demanded us to remain agile and turn challenges into opportunities. The recent quarters, we observed severe stress on the supply chain, where even primary packing materials are delayed, impacting our product sales. The macro environmental changes, be it lockdowns across China, Russia-Ukraine war, and power shortages has also resulted in inflated supply chain costs. I'm proud to say that in spite of all these challenges, we delivered our best financial year performance since the inception of the company. If we look at our performance over the last 5 years, we have delivered secular growth of revenue at a CAGR of 28% and growth in PAT at a CAGR of 39%. We have historically been a conservative company, with all our growth coming from our internal accruals, apart from investments from private equity investors. We continue to remain a zero-debt company and are well positioned to leverage the strength of our balance sheet to accelerate growth going forward. Our business model has allowed us to maintain superior operating efficiencies as well as incorporate global best practices much ahead of the curve. FY22 was a record year for us in terms of our performance. We recorded sales of rupees 44,007 million, a growth of 27% over last year, and a PAT of 12,117 million rupees, a growth of 22% over the previous year. Our growth in core markets was 16%, in rest of the world markets was 55%, and in the domestic market was 60%. We filed a total of 29 ANDAs in the US during FY22, which include 4 complex injectable filings. Our ability to follow through these filings to successful approvals, which translate to timely new product launches, provides us with sustainable growth. In FY22, we launched 44 product SKUs, which contributed 5% in terms of revenue growth over the previous year. We commercialized our penem portfolio during the year with launch of ertapenem and meropenem. We also launched other products like foscarnet, norepinephrine, fluorouracil, and docetaxel. The resilience of our business model, coupled with the focused execution of business plans, helped us deliver this performance. In spite of challenges on the availability of manpower, employees rose to the situation and went that extra mile to show their commitment. I would like to thank all our employees for putting in strenuous hours during these tough times. When we looked at our business about 3 years back, there was an extensive risk of geographic concentration. Rest of the world market contributed 9% of revenue in FY20, and the core markets contributed 73% of our revenue. We started focusing on geographic diversification to reduce dependence on a single geography and also leverage benefits of scale with new capacities coming online. We filed our products across markets, built new business relationships, and worked on optimizing product supply chain. As a result, we managed to ramp up the business in rest of the world markets from rupees 2,316 million in FY20 to 8,481 million in FY22, growing at a CAGR of 91%. Our key markets include Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and Thailand, while our key products are enoxaparin sodium, heparin sodium, and rocuronium bromide. Our China strategy will drive the next leg of growth in the rest of the world markets, where we have the benefit of a local presence of our parent, Fosun Pharma. We expect to start receiving approvals of our product filings in FY23. We have finalized the next set of product portfolio for the market and have initiated development activities for the same. We are targeting an addressable market size of nearly $1 billion with the next set of product portfolio in the China market. To foray into the biologic CDMO space, we have completed making investments in building a drug substance plant and have also built 2 finished product lines at our Pashamylaram facility. We faced a setback in our vaccine initiative, but remain focused on leveraging the learnings for the future. We are having interest from our partners on biologic CMO opportunities, and the rich experience of our biologics team gives me further confidence in our ability to translate these discussions into business wins. I have always believed that the strength of our R&D is a key to sustainable growth. We work with a rolling product pipeline that is a healthy mix of simple and complex injectable products. This ensures consistent growth from new product launches on a year-on-year basis. In FY21-22, upon excluding capital R&D expenditure, our R&D expenditure was 1,932 million rupees, which is nearly 4.4% of our revenue from operations. All our R&D investments are scrutinized in depth and meet our internal ROC targets. We are establishing capabilities in niche technologies like LAIs, long-acting injectables, suspensions, hormones, peptides, both on development and manufacturing. We have filed 4 complex injectables in FY22, which includes 3 hormonal products and 1 complex peptide. In terms of manufacturing capabilities, we have commissioned lines that can handle hormonal and suspension-based products and also initiated work on combi vial line with microsphere-based manufacturing capability. We are simultaneously working on our inorganic growth plans, which are aligned with our long-term strategy. We continue to leverage the strengths of our parent company, Fosun Pharma, in this aspect. Apart from catering to the global drug requirements, your company also contributed several social welfare activities. Throughout the year, your company continued to provide free breakfast to students and assisted construction of government schools to improve the quality of education for underprivileged students. Your company has signed a memorandum of understanding with the L.V. Prasad Eye Institute, which will help in providing surgical services to at least 3,500 people over the next few years, as well as provide house-to-house screening services for 5,000 senior citizens. It also made contributions to address the medical infrastructure shortage in the hospitals, as well as offered help in improving the road safety infrastructure. From building a diverse workforce with strong, inclusive leaders, nurturing ESG aspirations, and earning the trust of all stakeholders through ethical corporate governance, we are doing our best to create a sustainable business. We are proud of our employees for the dedication that has positioned your company so well for the future. Our journey thus far would have been impossible without their unstinting efforts. We also thank our shareholders for their continuous support. The board of directors have been a strong guiding force, ensuring we make progress on our strategic plans with discipline. I would like to hand over to Sampath to proceed with other meeting items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sadhu. Thank you, Chairman. I am happy to share that around 48 members have so far logged into our annual general meeting and are attending this meeting. Since this meeting is held through video conference and the resolutions provided in the notice have been put to vote by e-voting, there will be no proposing and seconding on the resolutions as we used to have in the physical meetings. I will now brief you on the resolutions that have been proposed for the approval of the shareholders in the notice of the annual general meeting. Item number 1 and 2 of the notice pertains to the adoption of audited standalone and consolidated financial statements of the company for the financial year ended 31st March 2022, together with the report of the Board of Directors and auditors, and have been proposed as ordinary resolutions. The board has recommended these financial statements for the adoption of the members. Item number 3 of the notice pertains to the reappointment of Ms. Kuwan Ziahu, as she is yet to receive the security clearance from the Ministry of Home Affairs for reappointment as director. She did not offer herself for reappointment, and accordingly this item was not taken up for voting. Item number 4 of the notice pertains to not to appoint any director in place of Ms. Guan in this meeting and has been proposed as an ordinary resolution. Considering the statutory provisions, the board has recommended to pass this resolution. Item number 5 of the notice pertains to the reappointment of Mr. Wu Yifang, as he is yet to receive the security clearance from the Ministry of Home Affairs for reappointment as director. He did not offer himself for reappointment, and accordingly this item was not taken up for voting. Item number 6 pertains to not to appoint any director in place of Mr. Wu Yifang in this meeting and has been proposed as an ordinary resolution. Considering the statutory provisions, the board has recommended to pass them. These are the 4 items which have been proposed in the notice of the AGM for the approval of the shareholders. We will now invite the shareholders who have registered themselves to ask any question to the management or the statutory auditor or the secretarial auditor. We have received 10 requests from the members. They will be unmuted and will be allowed to ask questions when called upon by the moderator. Members who have not registered themselves as a speaker but still want to ask any question may do so by posting the questions in the chat box available on their screen. We will respond all the queries by the speaker shareholders and the queries received in the chat box in one go. In the interest of time, I request all the speaker shareholders to please keep their questions brief and do not repeat the question which has been asked by their fellow members. I also request them not to take more than 3 minutes. This will ensure that other members get a chance to speak at the AGM. Once the voting is completed, the scrutinizer will compile the result of both remote e-voting and e-voting at the AGM and will submit the final report to the company latest by 11 AM on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. The combined result will be placed on the website of the company and the website of Link in Time. The result will also be submitted to the stock exchanges. On the basis of the report of the scrutinizer, the resolutions will be considered as approved or rejected. May I now request the moderator to please invite shareholders one by one.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. We will wait for a moment while we assemble the queue. I now invite our first speaker shareholder, Sagar Jitre, to unmute his audio and video and proceed with his question.
Hi, I'm Sagar. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at this AGM. And I would also like to congratulate the Gland team for very good performance in the financial year 2021-2022. Coming to my question, the company has indicated its intention to grow inorganically through M&A route. So can you please share what are the focus areas?
Mr. Jitre, you have any other questions?
No, that's it.
Thank you. I now invite our next speaker shareholder, Praful Chawda, to unmute his audio and video and proceed with his question. So may we request you to unmute your audio from your end, please?
हेलो
Yes, sir.
सर, मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Question.
थैंक यू सर. चेयरमैन सर, बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स और एमडी सर, सीएफओ सर, आपका लीडरशिप में कंपनी आगे बढ़ती जा रही है. लास्ट 5 इयर्स का जो आपने बताया, कंटिन्यू 5 इयर्स से आगे बढ़ती जा रही है. आपका चेयरमैन स्पीच में आपने बताया प्राउड ऑफ एम्प्लॉयज, बहुत अच्छा स्लोगन है सर. इससे एम्प्लॉयज को बहुत खुशी मिलती है कि हमारी कुछ वैल्यू बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर सीएफओ देखते हैं. तो नेक्स्ट फ्यूचर में भी एम्प्लॉयज को ऐसे ही खुशी के वर्ड्स देते रहिए. एम्प्लॉयज को पैसे नहीं चाहिए, अपन खुशी के वर्ड मिले तो भी एम्प्लॉयज हार्ड वर्क करना शुरू कर देते हैं. एक अचीवमेंट हुआ सर मेरे ख्याल से, मैं कुछ पढ़ने में गलती हुई तो मुझे पता नहीं, PAT प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स फर्स्ट टाइम 121 करोड़ रुपीज हुआ. एक अपने अचीवमेंट है कि 3 फिगर में अपने आ गए इसमें. तो कंटिन्यू 3 फिगर में रहना ही चाहिए. लास्ट ईयर 99 करोड़ रुपीज था और थोड़ा सा बाकी रह गया था, अपन ये साल पूरा हो गया. सर, CSR में बहुत अच्छा काम हो रहा है और इसमें खास तौर पे मैंने देखा कि आंखों का ऑपरेशन के लिए आपने पेज नंबर 44 पे लिखा है 1182 सर्जरी भी हुई. और आई विल ऑल्सो प्रोवाइड consultation service as the test 3,500 people over the next few years and will upload house to house screening service for 5,000 senior citizens. आपने सीनियर सिटीजन के लिए अच्छा सोचे है और सीनियर सिटीजन के लिए जो कुछ बेनिफिट देने का सोचे है सर. और सर, एक ये बात कहना चाहता हूँ कि अपना उसी जगह पे एक्सीडेंट नहीं हुआ है, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन भी नहीं हुआ है और प्रोडक्शन में भी नहीं हुआ. वो भी एक बहुत प्राउड लेने की बात है कि अपनी कंपनी में एम्प्लॉयज अच्छी तरह काम करता है, कि ऐसी नौबत नहीं आई, आगे फ्यूचर में भी नहीं आए. ऐसी शुभकामना के साथ मैं मेरा बात पूरी करता हूँ सर.
Thank you. We had Gautam Nandi registered as speaker number 3. However, he did not join the AGM. We move to the next speaker shareholder, Kamal Kishore Jawar, to unmute his audio and proceed with his question.
मेरा आवाज आ रहा है सर? हेलो
Yes,
हेलो,
sir, please
मेरा आवाज आ
proceed.
रहा है? हाँ,
Yeah,
ओके, थैंक यू सर. चेयरमैन सर, ऑल डायरेक्टर को, सेक्रेटरी डिपार्टमेंट को मेरा नमस्कार. अपना आज ये मीटिंग बहुत अच्छे टाइम पे हो रहा है साहब. और अपने चेयरमैन इस चीज में एक से एक डिटेल जो बता दिए, हमारे वो कुछ पूछने का नहीं है, अपना हर चीज बता दिए डिटेल से. और अपना डेट फ्री कंपनी है, सबसे बड़ी बात है. और सर, अपने जो 2022-2023 अपना एक्सटर्नल प्लान कुछ रहेगा क्या? और नेक्स्ट अपना प्रॉफिट कितना आ सकता है, टर्नओवर कितना हो सकता है? और आपके कॉर्पोरेट CFO साहब, सेक्रेटरी डिपार्टमेंट, वेरी नाइस मैन सर. एनी टाइम इज माय प्रॉब्लम, सेम डे इज द प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व. वेरी 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 फास्ट सर्विस सर, सेक्रेटरी डिपार्टमेंट. थैंक यू सर. और आपके साथ दशहरा दीपावली की शुभकामनाएं देता हूँ सर. और आपका जो CSR में है बेनिफिट, आपके हाथ से ही सीएसआर का काम करिए साहब। आपके सीएसआर करने से आपके हाथ से जो रहेगा तो आपकी कंपनी को वो लोगों की दुआ मिलेंगी, एम्प्लॉइज को दुआ मिलेंगी। आपके हाथ से ही अच्छा ही काम करो सीएसआर में तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा। और आपने जो ये चला मैं उसको पूरा सपोर्ट करता हूँ, निंदा नहीं मछली। और सर आज आते तो नेक्स्ट ईयर भी अपना वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस देखिए। ये मीटिंग हम कहीं भी प्लेस में कोई भी स्टेट में रहे तो हम मीटिंग अटेंड कर सकते हैं। ये वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस इज द बेस्ट सर्विस सर। वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस में आपके डायरेक्टर अप्रूव भी रहे तो मीटिंग अटेंड कर सकते हैं और बाहर के लोगों को भी कुछ बोलने का मौका मिलता है, आपको भी नया एडवाइस मिलता है। सो एवरी ईयर वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस और अपना जो कोरस है एक्सेलेंट सर्विस है साहब। कोरस इज द बेस्ट सर्विस। थैंक यू सर। हेलो 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 सर। हेलो जो है मेरे मेरे सेल के अंदर कुछ प्रॉब्लम आने के कारण मैं कमल किशोर जी के अंदर बात कर रहा हूँ। आदरणीय चेयरमैन सर, आपने जो चेयरमैन स्पीच के अंदर कंपनी की रूपरेखा और कंपनी की जो जानकारी हमें प्राप्त की है उसके लिए आपको तथा आपके टीम को मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। सर आपने जो कार्य कार्य किया है बहुत ही कुशलता से कार्य किया है। लोगों को जो सर्विस आपने दी है उसके लिए सर। सर आपने जो जो कार्य हमें जो चेयरमैन स्पीच के अंदर जो बताया है उसके उसके अंदर कंपनी की रूपरेखा तथा तथा ये जनरल जो कार्य है आपका, जो पब्लिक पब्लिक रिलेशन का जो कार्य है, जो आप जो कार्य कर रहे हैं उसके लिए मैं आपको तथा आपके टीम को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। और सर आप डोनेशन दे रहे अपने हाथों से आप करिए सर, क्योंकि मैंने देखा है कि आपके पास डोनेशन लेके जाते आए। जो राजीव गांधी एक बार कहा था कि हम 1 रुपया देते तो 15 पैसे पैसे लोगों तक पहुंचे। इसी प्रकार का कार्य होता है। इसलिए मैं चाहूंगा कि आप जो भी कार्य करें अपने हाथों से करें। इसके लिए मैं एक बार फिर आपको तथा आपकी टीम को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ और भगवान से प्रार्थना करता हूँ इसी प्रकार कार्य करते हुए आप अपने मंजिल को पहुंचे। और सर वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस रखिए, हम जहाँ पे इनकी जैसा बॉम्बे बेंगलुरु और कंपनी के रूपरेखा पूरे कलकत्ता पूरे इंडिया के अंदर क्या वही को प्राप्त होती है। इसलिए मैं चाहूंगा कि वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस रखे और आपने जो बोलने का जो मौका दिया उसके लिए आपको तथा आपकी टीम को बहुत बहुत नमस्कार करते हुए मैं अपने विचारों को मैं और कमल अपने विचारों को विराम देते हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मेरा नाम सुरेश चंद्र जैन है सर। कुछ फोन के अंदर रुकावट आने के कारण कोरस वालों ने मुझे खाली खाली बात करने के वास्ते ही बोले और अच्छा सर्विस दे रहे थे। कुछ न कुछ प्रॉब्लम आने से कुछ न कुछ कार्य करते हुए वो भी सफलता को प्राप्त कर रहे सर। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर।
Thank you. We had our next speaker shareholder, Kinjal Harya, registered. However, she did not join the AGM. We move to the next speaker shareholder, Subramanya Shripada, to unmute his audio and video and proceed with his question.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Is it my voice is audible? Hello.
Yes, it's audible.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, good morning to all the board members and chairman, MD, and the company secretary. Yeah, I have only just, I don't want to waste your time. I want only just two questions. One is, what is the future growth of levers and their present status? And in the CSR activities, the company is doing very well for the last year. Any particular focus on CSR activities in 22-23? Just these two I want to know. And especially the CSR activities, Eye Care Center is doing a very good. Recently, one of my known family members has done the checkup and all. They given the feedback. Everything is went on well, and they are very friendly and taking care. Thank you, sir. Thank you for all.
Thank you. I now invite our next speaker shareholder, Shrikant Jawar, to unmute his audio and proceed with his question.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, please proceed with your question.
Hello. Respected chairman and all our board of that धन्यवाद. Second time अपना वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस मीटिंग हो रहा है सर. I have three questions sir. First, ये रशिया यूक्रेन से अपने को बिजनेस को कितना इफेक्ट हो उसके बारे में जानकारी दीजिए. और सेकंड क्वेश्चन सर, जो अपना रॉ मटेरियल के जो प्राइसेस हाई हुए जो सडनली, उसके बारे में थोड़ा जानकारी. और थर्ड क्वेश्चन सर, अपना रजिस्टर जो लिंक है अगर वो चेंज करके हैदराबाद बेस में कार्वी है, वेंचर कैपिटल है, आरती, अगर उनको अगर दिए तो अच्छा, अपने को एक्सपेंसेस भी बचता है सर, क्योंकि हमारे को लिंक टाइम से बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है सर. अगर रजिस्टर अगर चेंज करने का सोचे तो वो अच्छा रहेगा. और हमारे सेक्रेटरी डिपार्टमेंट को धन्यवाद देता हूँ. कुछ भी रहा हमारे को मालूम हो जाता है सर, जानकारी मिलता है मेल के थ्रू. थैंक यू सर. हेलो.
Thank you. I now invite our next speaker shareholder, Sapna Jha, to unmute your audio and proceed with the question.
Hello. Yeah. Good
Yes, ma'am,
morning to
please proceed.
everyone. Thanks for giving this opportunity. I have only one question. Given the supply side disruption, how the company is planning to de-risk itself? I have only one question, and the best of luck for future projects. Thank you.
Thank you. We had Munindra Roy also connected as one of the speaker shareholder. However, he did not join the AGM. So, Chairman, sir, that was the last question. Over to the management.
Thank you. We have received some messages from the shareholders who are not able to register themselves as speaker. I have one mail from Mr. Bimal Panchal. He is telling heartiest congratulations to Team Gland for posting robust performance and in challenging times. And our CSR spend is well diversified and well planned. I highly appreciate it. And he has two questions. During the year, our capex was 6,558.52 million. Can you give a capex guidance for the coming 2 to 3 years? And also, export turnover is above 80%. Going forward, will this percentage will continue? Are the mails received from the other shareholders? I request the moderator to take a 10-minute break so that we will come back with our responses.
Members of the management, we are live. You may proceed.
Thank you all the shareholders for the questions you posed and for all the appreciation you have given the team. It really motivates the employees to move forward. I'm going to summarize briefly so that it will cover all the queries raised during this call. Uh, it captures the growth and the margin profile as well as some of the CSR activities. There are also questions in chat box which we received, which is pertaining to the percentage of our revenues from export markets, and also capex related and material cost related questions. From the growth perspective, we have to put it in two buckets. One is on the current business, how to increase our market share in this business. While we are working on internal operational efficiencies, which not only improves our margins, but it also improves our cost competitiveness in the market. That's helping us to grow our market share. If you look at last year, the volume growth which we achieved was almost 21%, which is very unlikely for a lot of companies. So this is done by working on different aspects through lifecycle management. By doing this, we're also looking at alternative source of materials. There was one question around supply chain disruption. We are looking at alternative APIs, alternative primary packing materials to be substituted and adding to our NDAs. So this is not only helping us to de-risk ourselves from the supply chain disruption, but also helping us in having more competitive advantage in terms of market share, and that's translating to our growth through volume. Historically, if you look at last 5 years, there's always been a volume growth for us ranging from 11 to 15%, and last year it was even 21% through volume growth. In terms of the future growth levers, while we're working on the current market, how to grow this, the one is of course the product portfolio. We always grow through increase our portfolio in the US market and other markets. If you've seen historically, the growth through portfolio is about 8 to 10%, and that will continue to do between 7 to 10%. We're launching products in the US. Last year we have launched about 29 SKUs in the US market, and we are filing ANDAs in the space of 20 to 25 on an annual basis. And this should add the growth in terms of portfolio in the US market. Geographic wise, there's a question around concentration of business in the US market. If you see historically again, 2 years ago our focus on US was more. Last year we have grown the US by 13%, but rest of the world market grew by about 55%. So we have increased our focus in other geographies as well, so that's de-risking our business. So this is one area where we can see a larger growth coming in the future as well. Added to that, China is the market, is a go-to market for injectables. 1/3 of the world generic market comes from China. Almost 40% of the generic market in injectable space is from China. And we have filed 8 products in China, consuming about $600 million. And we have created another 10 to 12 product portfolio, which we're going to file in next 12 to 18 months. So that's another large growth level we're looking at, in addition to geographic expansion and portfolio increase in the US and other markets. From the new areas perspective, we mentioned during a presentation, CDMO biologics is a space we are entering in. The market is growing around 16% worldwide. If you look at current CDMO biologic space, it's almost $63 billion, and it's estimated to reach about $106 billion by FY25. And this is the area we want to enter in. The formulation side of it, we have worked historically in this space, so that's more an extension of that. But on the larger molecule side and the drug substance side, it's a new area. So we are not going to venture into developing products on the biologic side, but we are going to work with the partners on the CDMO side, so the technology will be transferred. The recent experience what we had in the past year with the vaccine technology transfer in this space, we have created a team which is working towards that, and this could be a growth lever coming in next 2 to 3 years, and that's a market which as an injectable company we want to enter into. And the export turnover wise, 80% of export turnover was, even today it's about from the export markets for the company. Even in the future, we think the margin profile is better in the export markets, but it might settle around 60 to 70% in the long run because Indian branded business is also a focus area for us. We are looking at expanding that business in the Indian space as well. There's a question around Russian-Ukraine war. Is there an impact? We don't have any presence in Russia yet, so there's no impact for us. From the material cost perspective, there is an increase in the cost of utilities and also some materials. But for us, the material cost compared to the total transfer price or the price of the goods is minimal, so the impact is a little lower. But for sure, hopefully the utilities cost should come down in the next few months. But as of now, the operational costs have gone up in terms of utilities or even some of the materials what we are encountering. Some are getting transferred to customers, but I think this is a temporary phenomenon which every industry is going through. From the CapEx plan, I think Mr. Ravi Mitra will address that. I want to address on there's a question around the complex injectables. We have filed 4 injectable products from the complex side, which is about $1 billion of market value. There's another 15 products in pipeline. We're going to file 4 in FY23 and 6 in FY24. There's addressable market for the 20 products is about $11 billion. There's a question on recent inspection. We have already filed a notification to SEBI. You can go through that. There was one observation in that, and it's more related to the product. I think we kind of captured most of the queries, and the CapEx questions around CapEx and the CSR will be addressed by our CFO, Mr. Ravi Mitra. Ravi.
Thank you, Mr. Sadhu. On the CapEx guidance, we have about 300 crores planned for this year, FY23, and 250 crores for the next year, FY24. The CapEx plan would be for expanding our capacity and capability, especially in microsphere combi line in Pashmanaram for a complex injectable portfolio. And also the tech capacity is being increased, and we are also putting up a new bag line in Pashmanaram. On the CSR question, the total amount for CSR expected to be spent in financial year 23 would be about 26 crores. The areas of activity would be again focused on providing quality education, health infrastructure. We would be now starting CSR activity for promotion of sports and supporting our Paralympians. And the activity for environmental and wildlife conservation would be continued like similar to this year. With this, I will hand over back to you, Sampath. I believe we have addressed all the queries of the shareholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sadhu. Thank you, Mr. Ravi Mitra, for taking up all the questions. There are no more questions, and now I request the chairman to thank the shareholders and close the meeting. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sadhu and Mr. Mitra, for taking up all the questions. And since there are no other matters and all the questions have been answered, we can conveniently close the meeting. In case some of the shareholders have not completed the voting, I request all of them to complete the voting as quickly as possible. The voting window will remain open for the next half an hour. Mr. Ravi Kumar, the scrutinizer, is requested to take over the proceedings from now onwards. And I am authorizing Mr. Sampath Kumar, the company secretary, to countersign the scrutinizer's report and announce the voting results. Thank you all for attending this second AGM post-listing, and hopefully we will meet in person next year. Thank you all for attending. Much appreciated. Thank you.